everyone, it's Joy here for Honeybee Stamps, and today I've taken the Light the Way and Time to Go postcard stamp and die and combined that for a really cute nautical card. So here is the Light the Way, and I've got all these cute little images that normally when you lay them together creates this huge scene or this great, nice big scene, but I'm going to create little scenes on the small stamps from the Time to Go postcard die. So here is the inner piece of one of the dies. It cuts out this white piece, and then you have the little scalloped edge that looks like a postage stamp. So I'm going to use Distress Oxide inks to paint the background, and then we're going to stamp our images on that from the Light the Way. So I'm kind of having an idea of each background, what stamp I'm going to use. So this one I'm going to use the cute sailboat. So I have Uncharted Mariner for the ocean. Then I'm using antique linen a little bit for like the sails of the boat. And then I've got tumbled glass for the sky. So I'm going to paint 6 of these, again with a certain stamp in mind for each one. This is Scattered Straw and Abandoned Coral. We're going to create a sunset. So each background is going to be completely different, completely unique to these cute little stamps in here. And I just thought this would be so fun to make these look like postcards. What a fun way to capture these cute little images. So I'm using just some Nina cardstock, 110 pound, and I am using obviously a little bit of water. I am smushing my ink on my work surface. I was just figuring out what I was doing next, and then spritzing that with a little bit of water and then using a watercolor brush. So I've got some antique linen here for my sand. Then I'm going to use a little bit of the walnut stain, and then I will come in with the tumbled glass. And this is going to be for our cute little sandpiper bird. And I'm just cleaning up my work surface in between. This does go really quick, actually, as long as you kind of have things planned out. And I was just trying to get a general idea. I do like the fact that it has this watercolor look on the background. That's really nice. So here's more of that antique linen. Then we are going to do some peeled paint. This is going to be some of that beautiful grass that is on the beach. When you go to those natural beaches and you have that beautiful beach grass, that's what I'm going to be doing here. I am creating a little bit of a sky here with the Uncharted Mariner. Normally I'm keeping that for the ocean, but I just thought it would be pretty here. And then we have our Uncharted Mariner. This is going to be for the dock. And there's also little bird stamps, there's cloud stamps, there's sand texture, ocean texture. So I'm going to be adding all of those things once these little pieces dry, and they do dry really, really quick. And then the sky is the tumbled glass. And then the last one is going to be for some palm trees. So I have my antique linen sand here at the bottom. Then I'm going to do the tumbled glass for the sky, and then I'm going to bring in a little bit of peeled paint for the palm trees. It's just going to be a little bit behind the palm trees. And I have to say that my youngest son was actually helping me with the colors. Him and I have different, how we like our colors saturated. So he's the one who actually picked out all of these colors for this card design. And I love how they turned out. Really, really fun. So I'm laying my palm trees over, and I'm just trying to see where the palm fronds are. I'm just adding a little bit of that peeled paint over there. I want to darken it up just a tiny bit. And it doesn't have to be perfect here. This is just kind of like a quick wash of watercolor, essentially, is what I'm going for on this background. Now, while that dries, I am going to be using the Netting A2 cover plate. Again, I'm die cutting that from some Nina cardstock. And I will, once I die cut it, I'll just pop out all those little center pieces, and then I'm going to start ink blending with antique linen, and then I will bring in the walnut stain and add just a little bit of that on the background so it has a variation on this netting. This is going to be part of our background under our cute little stamps here. So let's bring in some of that walnut stain. I'm just kind of tapping it more than blending it. in certain areas. And now that that's done, we can work on the background that's going to go under our netting. And I thought the Uncharted Mariner would be really, really pretty. I feel like this card has way more of a nautical theme than a beachy theme, which is what I tend to lean towards. But like I said, my son picked out the colors for this, and I love that it felt very nautical. Like, this makes me really, really happy. And I think I need to do more nautical themed cards to begin with, like the colors and that kind of feel. So I'm not trying to get a perfect blend. I do want it a little splotchy, and then I'm going to spritz that with my Distress sprayer a couple times. Now that our little painted backgrounds are dry, I'm just going to use an acrylic block because it will be quicker and easier. So this has the sun rays here, so like a fun little sunrise, and I'm going to stamp all of my images with black ink. It keeps it super, super simple, and I love how it turns out. Then here's the smallest of the two options of birds. And I planned out where my sentiment is going to go, so that image and the image with the dock are going to be in the center of my card design, and you guys will see what I mean, but I did plan that out ahead of time. Here's that cute little sailboat. I'm going to add some more stuff to that later. Then we have our palm trees, and I am trying to remember to prep my stamps with my hand. I'm just rubbing my hand along it. I'm stamping it off onto other cardstock because I want to make sure I'm getting a nice, good, solid image before I re-ink it and stamp it onto my painted backgrounds. I don't want a splotchy background because I'm not going to stamp it again. I won't be able to line it up. So I kept forgetting to prep it with my hands, so I had to wipe the ink off. Then I stamped it on my cardstock, my white cardstock, and I see that I got a good solid image, so I inked it up again to stamp it on my painted backgrounds. So here's our cute little sandpiper bird. Let me prep that again. And I am using Archival Jet Black ink. If you want a good crisp black image, that's the black ink you need to use on top of Distress Oxide inks. If you don't, the black will be dull. If you just use a regular black ink, it will be dull. So I am using the Archival Jet Black ink. So here is that little dock that I've lined up with the water and the sky. And again, this will be in the center of my design where part of the sentiment is going to be laying over it. So I'm keeping that in mind when I'm inking up with the birds, stamping the birds, and what image I want there. So that's why I did the dock instead. Now, I felt like I needed to add some waves here. So you have this bigger stamp here that has waves, but I'm going to tape off just the top part there, and I'm going to find a spot that's not too big. I'm going to ink that up, and then I do change my mind here of where I'm inking because the waves were a little too big for this small image. So I slide it over on my acrylic block, I ink it up, and I'm going to place that down, and it turned out so perfect. Then I am going to use the sand piece for a few of these cards. This just gives it a little extra detail that I think that it needs. It needs a little something extra. So here's this little small part of the dots for the sand that I did there at the bottom of the palm trees. I'm going to do the same thing for the sandpiper and for that seagrass that we have. So I'm going to ink that up, place that down, and that just gives, like I said, that little extra detail. Let's do that here. I'm going to use a different part of the sand. I want this to be a little, not just like a long thin strand of those little sand details. I want it to be a little bit chunkier. So I am going to move that over and ink that up, and then I can just line it up using my acrylic block. Then I decided to add a cloud to the sailboat scene because I do think that it needed a little something at the top. I just thought it would be really, really cute to have that. So I'm going to stamp that off where it's just a little part there. Okay, now that those are done, let's adhere our netting here to our background. So I'm just adding dots of glue, really making sure to get dots of glue around the edges. That's the most important. And then just little bits of dot and glue in the center. But look at how fun that looks. And then I have another die from that Time to Go Postcard. It's a solid piece that fits the little frame and the pieces that we've stamped and inked up. So I'm keeping those white. I do like the white against that. I'm adding the frames to all of the solid little stamped pieces here. And then once that's done, I can add all of my little images right inside. And now you have this nice kind of thicker piece. You have a nice, good postage stamp edge, which I think is super fun. And then this is going to be adhered down the center of our A2 size card. So let's get those little guys in place. I'm not going to do liquid glue. I'm just going to do tape runner because I thought, you know, some of these are a little bit warped because I added water to it. And if I used liquid glue, it wouldn't hold the edges down all the way. So I'm just going to use some tape runner, my reverse tweezers, and then I can just pop that right in the center. But look at how cute these are turning out. I think these are so fun. These little postage stamps are so darling. So we've got one more. And of course, I'm going to add some foam adhesive behind my little stamps here because I think that that is going to give some nice dimension. So I'm going to start with the two center ones. So these are the two ones that I said I needed to, when I was stamping, kind of take into consideration my images because I knew my sentiment would cover some of it. But I'm going to center these from top to bottom, you know, side to side. Once I get those in place, and I'm not pressing them all the way down yet, just in case I need to adjust them, then I can add my foam adhesive to all the other ones, and it's just easier to get it lined up and kind of just, you know, I'm an eyeballer. I don't want to measure it, so I'm just going to eyeball everything. And, you know, for the most part, I think it's fairly, you know, accurate as far as the distance goes. Then from the Time to Go postcard, there is a big scripty sentiment that says Time to Go, and I am in love with it. I have die cut it twice from black cardstock. I'm going to glue that together. That just gives it a little bit of thickness. It makes it look a little more substantial. I tend to normally do it 3 times, but I just decided to go with 2. And we are going to place this in the center, so only parts of it are going to be adhered to the stamps themselves. So you can see there why those 2 designs in the middle needed to be thought about of placement and things like that. But also you could cover it up and still understand what's going on. So I'm going to place that down. Look at how pretty that black sentiment stands out. And then I want to finish this off with just a few of the Crystal Glimmer enamel stickers. I'm going to do a few down the center and then just a couple on one on each side, just to give a little extra something, but I did not place them on the stamps themselves. And then I will adhere this to a white A2 size card base, but let's take a look at this up close. I think this turned out so fun and so pretty. Look at those cute little postage stamps and all the fun little scenery on there. Thank you guys so very much for stopping by and watching. I hope you feel inspired by this project, and I hope you have a great day.